I stayed in the hole for 5 months.
The public defender. What is
he came? He came a few days after, and he says, Ray, I was appointed. His name was Marty Fakenbaum. He said, I was appointed by the court to come and represent you. I said, okay, sir. And we sat down. We talked like you and I speaking right now.
Right.
And he asked me. I said, first of all, why am I here? I said, these people said that I was trafficking cocaine. I said, that's a lie. I got documents in here to show you that I'm at work. I said, first of all, how could I be traveling to these various states and living 350 kilograms of cocaine? My wife worked that night at the Postal Service. I was there with my 2 daughters. I said, and furthermore, I'm at work. When they said I was traveling to all these states, I'm at work. What's amazing to me, Matt, is the fact that the Broward Sheriff Office has a fiduciary duty, internal affairs, that if a man or woman commit a crime, they have to call you down there for questioning. They have to give you a garage statement. At no time did they ever ask me, they never asked me if I was associated or affiliated with any type of wrongdoing, anything of that nature. They just showed up at my home. These are the same guys that actually went into my vehicle. My wife and I had bought a Mercedes, and my brother was washing the car. And as my brother was washing the car, the same task force, drug task force, go in the car without a search warrant, searched the car, and said, how could I afford this type of vehicle? It was a Mercedes, but the car had expensive emblems on the back of it. The car was a 1993 400 SEL, but they had V12 600 on the back of it. On the side it said V12, and on the back it said S600. So BSO, these officers that went in the car said, oh, he must have been selling drugs to own this type of automobile. Where's the camera on this car? So my brother said, man, you guys know who that is. That's my brother. He worked for the sheriff department. My identification was in the console of the car. These are the same people who showed up in my home and took me into custody, who arrested me. But they're the ones that are crooks, not me. And I told my attorney this, I said, listen, you need to do your homework, man. I said, and furthermore, I'm not going to take something that I didn't do. He says, Ray, I'm telling you, you're faced with natural life imprisonment. This is the feds. The feds got a 98.8% conviction rate. I told him, I said, God got a conviction rate of 0%, and I'm not taking anything. I wouldn't even take time served. I'm going to trial, man.